This morning. I light the chalice that creates a bright, pure flame symbolizing our purity of mission and principle. The flame springs from a vessel created by our own open palms, supporting our ideals. There are many hands. All of us here are conducting the service today. The base is the accumulation of all Unitarian Universalist churches, fellowships, and congregations that unite in the support of one another in our ideals. A time came when all of these independent houses of worship formed the UUA, a supporting organization for the betterment of all of us. We wrote their bylaws to keep them separate from us and how to support us. That newly formed support center has been a helpful resource to us. They are there to answer our questions, and in some cases, some people consider it like an HR department. We have used them to set our standards, write job descriptions, and do performance evaluations. The UUA has been a search firm for ministerial candidates, sabbatical ministers, and others. They provide educational resource, regional cluster church support, legal, and investments. Yes, they even have an investment department that could support and work with us if needed. They have provided grants to our outreach, and other benefits only await our request. Independent churches, fellowships, and congregations often go it alone, and the base of their chalice is weak. However, we as a congregation believe in the UUA, support its mission, and participate in the every 15-year rule of evaluating their bylaws because of the many resources that we have gained from them. Our chalice is strong. The flame provides each of us with the purity of a spiritual journey. The base of the open hands is a commitment to the fellowship and to the open palm supports to a better community. And the base is a collection of independent congregations supported by the UUA. With a torch, sometime in the next hour we'll get some music. Where's my Zippo?
Got it, I think.
No, that's not right. Not yet. So we've got a short break.
How many UUs does it take to light a chalice? Well, I think we can probably keep going. All right. My name is Jan Simon, and I will be your worship associate this morning. However, we have lots of participants today. There will be no offering today during the service, so please put your donations in the baskets in the back of the sanctuary after the service. We have, good job. We have up here the delegates who attended the General Assembly in July, including myself. We all attended either in person or by Zoom or other technology in Pittsburgh. And we will all be speaking briefly about our impressions and experiences attending this event. You already saw a video on a previous Sunday from our outgoing president, Reverend Susan Frederick Gray, and that was at our December 12th worship service. In the following video expert, we would like you to get a flavor of what we heard from our new president, Reverend Sophia Betancourt. Both of these women really impressed us with their vision, compassion, and commitment. We feel that the leadership of the UUA is in good hands. Video?
Prelude.
Did I do that to you again? Yeah. Oh, you're going to start taking it personally, aren't you? And now there will be a prelude. Thank you, Lisa. That was well worth the wait. Tom, do you have the video now of? Thank you. Now we will have the video of our new president, Sophia Betancourt.
How will you, as president, and the UUA that you will lead, partner with our congregations and communities as we enter what is clearly a time of needing to either rebuild or reinvent, or both, our ministry, our congregational finances, and membership?
It's a great question. You know, I think that my primary answer to this relates really to all of the work we're doing together. We are in a reimagining and rebuilding moment, I think, on a lot of levels. When I think about the UUA, we talk a lot about the UUA as the institution that resources the promises that we make to one another, right? I would say, as a theologian, the UUA is an institution that holds close the covenant that we hold with each other, right, in community. That said, we're in a moment where risk-taking is central to figuring out new ways of being, and it worries me when I hear that either our communities or our congregations or like an individual board president or member or an individual religious professional is just having to risk on their own because we don't have the best practices shared together. My intention and my prayer is that the UUA will continue its powerful work to hold containers that allow us to share that risk together, right, so that more than one community is benefiting from something new. And what I would ask of you, you're going to hear me ask things of you today, what I would ask of you is for grace. Risk requires the willingness to fail. Please let us fail with you, right, together, so that we hold that risk together so we can find new ways to actually meet the needs of the day. So my commitment is to hold that innovation as the precious gift that it is, and to share our resources so we can do that risk together. And I would ask you, in the name of our fierce and fabulous UUA staff and our fierce and fabulous Board of Trustees, love us through failure so we can hold risk together. Thanks.
Thank you, Sophia. So, in the official forums we had, what topic didn't come up as much as you thought it was going to?
You know, it's a really good question, and I'm not sure I had preconceived notions about what you all cared about the most. I feel like I learned a lot from the questions that were asked. You know, there were a lot of questions about my own care, about families, about youth and young adults in ministry, about our religious professionals, about the state of the world. I think I was maybe a little bit surprised that I didn't get asked more either about my own personal theology or about how the work of theology and ethics might impact my presidency, but then I realized I've been talking to you about that for years, and you probably know, which is exciting. I don't think it's a lack of interest. I hear excitement from you, right? Even in the messy, beautiful, rich mix of figuring out how we express our values together, I hear excitement about this work. And I feel like I want to say, if this was 20 years ago, when I was entering the ministry, I might have been asked harder questions about my own faith practice, what I believe, and how that calls me into this presidency. But seriously, beloveds, I want us to be resourced, proud, risk-taking, publicly, I said this in another forum, obnoxious about our values. I want us to have language that doesn't separate us from each other, but still allows us to share what we believe most about what's needed in society and the world. Religious community is supposed to be counter-cultural in the name of justice, in the name of inclusion, in the modeling of faithfulness, right? And I want us to be you about that. I don't need us to claim someone else's language. I need us to lean into our own in its diverse, pluralistic expressions. So you're going to hear a lot of language from me. And I will sometimes tell you how that's a part of my faith practice, but I don't think that's what matters most. It matters that I have one, because that's what keeps us going. But I want to reflect what matters to you when we're in the world.
Our first presentation will be from Marcia Smith, and it's called New to UU.
I just wanted to say, oh, the chalice is going out. I think we need a new way. Now, you know what, this one works, and I also want to say that I initiated the acquiring of this, and for all of us green folks, this is not disposable, it's rechargeable, and it does not use fossil fuels. Thank you. It's not the lighter, it's the wick.
She's right, it's the wick.
I'll go ahead. I am relatively new to UU, although I've been UU adjacent for many years. I sang in a choir in Spokane, Washington, UU. But I have been heading towards it since I left my church of origin some 30 years ago. And now I'm a member of the Ministerial Search Committee, and I wanted to attend the General Assembly to learn more about the larger world of UU. It was inspiring to be in the company of so many folks from all over, excited to learn and grow. And it was impressive to see how the Assembly tackled so many big questions in as smooth a way as possible, multi-platform, folks both live and online. I appreciated the chance to hear many points of view and to realize that my own thoughts on any topic were incomplete. Seeing and hearing from our leaders in person, like our new president and our exiting president, it gave me a much better appreciation of the heart and intelligence of these fine folks. Next year is an all-online GA, not the same immediacy as in person, but makes it so accessible, and I really encourage folks to look at that and also to go there in person sometime. Make the time to do it. It's such a life-changing experience. I just want to say a little bit about the headline issue that was discussed. We've heard some about it, the new version of Article 2, the part of our bylaws that says what we stand for. There's a joke that UUs love nothing better than a discussion, and if so, this was UU heaven. While we were not discussing changes as glaringly obvious as back in the day when we struck phrases like "for all mankind" from the bylaws, there were so many amendments offered, and many were adopted. They'll never be perfect wording, and that was certainly an example of that. I felt that we here at UUCOV maybe have been a little late to this discussion, and in that sense we need to do a lot of listening to find out the thoughts behind the proposed rewrite. While we may not be in love with all of the wording, we as delegates tried to assess the spirit of the effort. What was the spirit? We found that we were in favor of that spirit. The new version aims to be more modern and inclusive. And it is important to listen to all voices, and many viewpoints were heard. I was struck by the overwhelming support at GAA for the new Article 2. I have heard and read objections, but what I did see was a painstaking effort to listen to all voices. I see that the essence of the seven principles are within the new Article 2. And I saw that one problematic word was removed. People were concerned about the word accountability. That word no longer exists in there because we don't know what it meant. The word used throughout is covenant, and that's a word very dear to the hearts of UU. This places our relationship in the realm of individual responsibility. One other highlight of GA was the opportunity to hear and see such a large variety of presenters, both lay and reverend, and to see the banners of all of the churches showing the breadth and diversity. We were proud to represent UUCOV, and I thank you for your trust in us.
Thank you, Marcia. I'm not going to let this defeat me. Yeah, here we go. I'm Jan Simon, once again, and I am going to speak to my experience as a first-timer at General Assembly. I went to General Assembly for the first time this year in spite of being a UU member for nearly 30 years. I attended with an open mind and lots of curiosity. I was somewhat familiar with the Article 2 revision question on the agenda and the goal of UUA to be more welcoming to a diverse community. I had read about some of the controversy around hiring practices and RE conferences, yet I was totally unprepared for what I would experience. We arrived at the conference hotel the night before the GA opening session. Looking for a glass of wine, I ran into another attendee in the hotel lobby, and we started a conversation. I discovered that she and I grew up a few miles apart in Detroit and decided to go to the bar together, joined by Steve and a friend of hers. I started to ask about Article 2 and what they thought about it, only to discover that my two new friends were on the GA board. We got a thorough summary of how the bylaws, just like UUCOV's, needed to be reviewed periodically. I could definitely relate to this process. Throughout the next few days, I was impressed by attendees' passion for a broader inclusiveness and the subtext that if our denomination is to survive and thrive, we might want to broaden our message. I was inspired by performers, both spoken and sung, and performances by a diverse group of people whose experience of life was somewhat different from my own, yet somehow the same. The speech by outgoing President Susan Frederick Gray bowled me over, and I heard echoes of Martin Luther King in her words about social justice. Young LGBTQ participants demonstrated love. And the new UUA president, Sophia Betancourt, impressed me with her clear vision for the future. GA definitely changed me. As someone who often believes, if it's not broken, don't fix it, I realize that there is value in looking for the broken pieces swept under the carpet, and I want to continue to grow. Lisa will now play a musical meditation for us.
Steve Simon, and I was one of the three GA delegates in residence in Pittsburgh, along with Jan and with Marcia. Now, my GA experience was rich. It was also in a number of ways different from what I had heard from friends of mine who had attended in the past, because it was also my first time at GA. It was genuinely thought-provoking. It was challenging. It was illuminating. It was often entertaining. And one word that I didn't hear Jan or Lisa mention, it was often exhausting. It was long days and a lot of information to try and understand. Now, as Marcia expressed, I also felt the responsibility of representing UUCOV as a member of the search committee. Personally, I had a sense of responsibility to connect with the people from the surrounding UU congregations here on the Sun Coast to talk to them about social justice. And all of us felt a responsibility to better understand the challenges and the controversies that have been rocking UUA for several years, particularly Article 2. Now, here were a few of the highlights for me. As Jan said, it was great to ease into GA the night before by meeting and going to the bar with a couple of board members, which we did not know until the second round of drinks. The next morning at the opening session, another high point was Jan and I walking with Marcia at least part of the way as she carried our UUCOV banner in the procession. It was also true that after attending a very long and detailed opening day, including more things about Article 2, Jan, Marcia, and I all agreed that we needed to get a Hail Mary call with Amy. Now, I just want to say, any atheists here, Hail Mary refers to it's a football term exclusively in this context, okay? Amy answered our call. We had our Zoom, and it was very helpful, helping us navigate the next 3 days. On the second full day, at one point, more than a dozen or more older teens and maybe early 20s youthful delegates rushed the stage to protest against a vote on investment policy. They successfully disrupted the proceedings for at least 20 to 30 minutes before order could be restored. It was wonderful to see them do that. On the third day, during the debate on the issues and before the voting began, they were Zoom screens in which some delegates there and some people who were Zooming in from other parts of the country got a chance to speak. And at least 2 of the UU delegates from Western states introduced themselves as Nordic men. I am still trying to get my head around that. On the fourth day, as both Marcia and Jan have said, listening to the speeches by outgoing President Susan Frederick Gray and the incoming speech by Sophia Betancourt, live and in person, they were 2 very different, but 2 of the finest public speeches that I've ever heard. I have to say that. We also had dinner with Betty Baraga with the UU Fellowship of Port Charlotte and met with Sharon Howard from UU Sarasota, and this helped to open the door to their congregation's participation in the Social Justice Alliance. Takeaways. I learned a lot about the resources that UUA has for congregations, including financial support for projects. I also learned UUA has its own culture, and to a certain extent, it has its own vocabulary. Now, Reverend Amy did arrange a meeting for all the delegates, whether we were there on Zoom or in person, before we left, and it helped us prepare for what we thought we might see in terms of the push and pull in Pittsburgh, and that was very helpful. But in retrospect, it's hard for me not to conclude that in recent years, past UU leadership, UUCOV leadership, with some notable exceptions, believed it really wasn't that important for our congregation to be informed about all the major controversies that UUA was and is still working through, particularly the debate over Article 2. As a result, our congregation overall, and particularly your delegates on site in Pittsburgh, we found ourselves to be surprisingly ignorant about the depth of feeling over these major disputes. Now, I want to say we can agree, we can disagree with UUA, but in the future, we shouldn't bury our heads in the sand. Now, I'm happy to say the current board is definitely taking steps to better educate our congregation on these issues. And in closing, I want to give a plug for the UUA sessions that have been led by and will be led by our president, Jack Head, and our board member, Pat Wellington, who is also a delegate. I recommend that you do consider attending one of these sessions. I attended one before the holidays, and it was excellent. Thank you.
Greetings, everyone. I'm Pat Wellington. Yeah, it was just mentioned. Thank you for the kudos for our Article 2 session. The last one will be on February 6th at 2 o'clock. There's a sign-up sheet out there. If we get too many people, we'll do another one. This year's General Assembly was attended by me online. I didn't go in person. It had 1,317 in-person delegates. It was a big event, an equal number online. There were 715 congregations represented. Some of this is duplicated, but I'll try to give you a little more insight into things. There was much discussion about the UUA and UUs in general moving from liberal values to liberation, undoing systemic white supremacy. We are at the end of the first year of a 3-year study of this statement of conscience. The statement of conscience is to undo systemic white supremacy. It's quite a large thing to do, but we hope we can work on this. The UUA bylaws state that they will be reviewed every 15 years. The last time was 1985. There was much debate and work done on the revision on Article 2 of the bylaws, so that our liberal values include anti-racism and more modern wording. Amendments were voted on, and the revised version now is back to the congregations for study and a decision at the 2024 GA. It's whether to adopt it or not. 2/3 of congregations attending GA must vote for the final revised version before it's accepted. The next GA is going to be all online, so everybody here can join it. It'll be in June. My other takeaway, besides Article 2, is that UUs dealt with strong feelings, as Steve mentioned, wanting action on climate and divestment from fossil fuels. The youth attending were vocal and vehement in their urging complete divestment from fossil fuel industries and subsequent reparations. Complete divestment was not approved. 68% voted no and 31% yes. But the board members committed to continuing this work. In 2014, young adults in UUA pushed for the removal of funds from 200 fossil fuel companies, and this was done in the Common Endowment Fund. 3, what they call actions of immediate witness, were approved. One is Stop Cop City, that's going to be under consideration for building in Atlanta. That passed with 83%. Organize for Health Equity is another one that was approved for people to do action on this year in their congregations. 85% voted for that. And Protect Dreamers with a Path to Citizenship. That one got 98% of the people voting for it. So Dr. Sophia Betancourt that you saw is the first UUA president who's a woman of color and gay. She ran unopposed for president and will serve a 6-year term. She passed with 95.5% of the vote. And now you'll hear from Kinder Muntz, another one who attended GA online.
Good morning. I am Kendra Muntz, and having attended many UUA General Assemblies in person, I missed the enjoyment of person-to-person engagement with others on the issues and conversations and dinners with friends near and far. This is the first time I attended a GA online. The preparation was completely different from years past. My last GA was in person in 2019 in Spokane, Washington, where the delegates voted on the draft statement of conscience on the 4-year congregational study action issue our UUCOV board filed in 2016 called The Corruption of Our Democracy. When the statement of conscience was presented, it was reviewed by board members or by committee members there. We didn't have a choice of what it was said. The reviewers changed the title to Democracy Uncorrupted. I only wish that were true today. But in 2019 and years past, delegates had to try to absorb everything on site during 5 days at General Assembly. We were lucky if we could review the agenda and list of workshops ahead of time. GA was always a feast of opportunities that seemed overwhelming. And even if workshops were divided up among the delegates sent to our congregations from UUCOV, it just seemed overwhelming. In 2023, that changed. There were regular assignments ahead of time that stretched out the process and seemed intended to make life easier at GA. For example, the GA did not start until June 21, but on June 9th, we were asked to review the fossil fuel amendment, pros and cons. On June 10th, there was an online mini-assembly on the amendments proposed for divestment from the fossil fuel industry. So we had a lot of work ahead of time I wasn't prepared for. I was just going to go for 5 days and have fun. Okay, sorry. So, also, there was a new app we had to download and learn called WHOVA, W-H-O-V-A, for virtual attendance. We had to vote using WHOVA. All this was new to me. I'm not a techie. However, once we settled in to seeing the main events online, starting with the opening banner parade, with banners of UU congregations from all over the country, including our own new UUCOV banner carried by Marcia Smith, the joy and excitement of General Assembly came through. As an online delegate, I couldn't participate in workshops, but I could see all the special events, the memorable Service of the Living Tradition, the bridging service for youth, the Ware Lecture, the Sunday worship service open to the public, the closing celebration, and remarkable final report of the Reverend Dr. Susan Frederick Gray and the first speech of our new UUA president, Dr. Sophia Bettencourt, and all the general sessions and discussions on issues, including the major Article 2 discussion that ultimately led to the vote, to bring the issue to GA 2024 for a final vote. So, I hope as many of us as possible, many UUCOVers right in this congregation, will attend GA 2024 online. It's only going to be from June 20 to 23. You can do it from home in your pajamas. And then consider attending GA 2025 in person in Baltimore, Maryland, June 18 to 24. Because, you know, GA only comes to the East Coast once every 4 years. They alternate, east, west, north, south. So 2025 will be our time, Baltimore, Maryland. It'll be 5 days of the most intense and enlightening experience of the work of the people, the congregations, and the leadership of the Unitarian Universalist Association, of which we are a part. Thanks.
Well, we've thrown a lot of information and impressions at you, but I hope you can at least feel the passion that we felt a little bit in all that was happening at GA. Now, if you could stand as you're willing and able, we're going to sing hymn number 1014, and I think that's in the Teal book, Standing on the Side of Love, which is kind of the theme of GA. shift gears a little bit. Those attendees from GA are going to go back and sit in the audience, and we are going to invite up the group that is doing the salute to decision-making. Salute to decision-making, pardon me.
We have just heard from our colleagues about their exciting experience at GA, and I think just listening to them brought back my experiences at GA. And seeing so many people who are like-minded but perfectly capable of holding an interesting conversation is exhilarating, as we heard from what they said. Participating with a few thousand people to sing together Spirit of Life is unbelievable. If you have never attended a GA, learn more about how our own congregation operates, thinks, and makes decisions, and then book your ticket or buy your sign up for the online this next year. You'll never regret it. Coincidentally, my job this morning is to coordinate the 25th anniversary of UUCOV by focusing on decision making. My name is Bev Morrison. I was asked to coordinate this morning's salute to the UUCOV decision making. As a former committee chair, team leader, vice president, and president, I will speak about how administrative decisions are addressed. Judith Houston, chair of the communications team, will tell us about the many attempts to keep everyone in the loop, and Annie Harrison will share information about the efforts of the membership team. Before getting started with the details of administration, let me make a point about the minister. The minister is in charge of all issues relating to the theological end of things. The minister has, quote, freedom of the pulpit, unquote, which is never to be interfered with. Administrative issues are primarily the responsibility of the congregation. The first official administrative group at UUCOV was the same as many places. It's called a Board of Trustees. This group still exists. It is an elected body with a president, vice president, secretary, treasurer, and 3 trustees at large. The nomination committee identifies candidates and presents a slate to be voted on at the annual meeting held in March. The congregation votes on the slate, which becomes official with the beginning of the new fiscal year on April 1st. The purpose of the Board of Trustees is to consider the long-term future of the congregation. The board is guided by the bylaws, written by special bylaws committees that periodically review and make recommendations for change. The job of the Board of Trustees, with input from the appropriate teams, more shortly about that, is to make policy decisions and represent UUCOV officially in interactions in both the community and with business to be conducted with UUA. Now, from the outset, as the congregation grew, adjustments were made to keep everyone aware of what was going on. About 10 years into the existence of UUCOV, the reality was that each committee chair was asked to attend 2 to 4 meetings per year to explain what their committee was up to. Now, considering that the number of committees had approached approximately 50, can you imagine attending such a meeting? If each chair took only 5 minutes, that would mean 250 minutes of listening, or slightly over 4 hours. You want to go with me? Yeah. Because each chair was excited about their area of work, they were also enthusiastic, which meant they had difficulty keeping comments to less than 5 minutes. As a listener, how much can you retain? After about 1 hour, several body parts were probably pretty tired out and not working actively. What to do? Asking each board member to supervise a committee, about 8 committees, had proven to be pretty unworkable, no matter how you divided the committees. And the overall job of a board member already took many hours. How much time and effort can you put on all volunteer positions? What was born was a suggestion that came from UUA, which our GA attendees learned more the value of. So what we did was create the Coordinating Council. I have heard many people say, I don't know what the heck the Coordinating Council is. Well, I'm going to tell you, okay? We divided into teams, hopefully in such a way that committee members had some shared interests. Teams today include administration, caring and remembrance, communications, finance, lifespan education, membership, campus team or physical plant, social activities, social justice, and the Sunday morning experience. Now, I can give you a 15-minute explanation of how this group came to be named that, but we don't have the time. If you truly want to know, tap me on the shoulder on the lanai. I'd like to get it off my chest. Okay. Teams are where the nitty-gritty work of the congregation is planned and implemented in detail, following the policy decisions already made by the Board of Trustees. For example, a board policy might be to provide a program of religious education for children. The lifespan team should choose the curriculum and not the Board of Trustees. It would be inappropriate for the board to do it. Likewise, the Board of Trustees might make the decision to dedicate part of the grounds to a forest of hardwood trees. The campus team would select the types of trees, not the Board of Trustees. Let's try another example. The board decides a membership campaign is needed. That is the goal. It is up to the membership team to bring it to fruition. Teams meet as needed, and each team leader is a member of the coordinating council. Thus, team leaders are selected, not elected by the congregation. The leader of the coordinating council is the vice president of the Board of Trustees, thus provided the essential link between the coordinating council and the Board of Trustees. The vice president is to report to the Board of Trustees the discussions that take place at the coordinating council. The coordinating council meets each month. Their job is to make other teams aware of what is happening and to keep the board aware of the day by work and or needs of the teams. It is intended that the agenda for the coordinating council is created by the team leaders at each meeting, who are asked to keep two things in mind. One, what their team is doing, and two, ways in which they could continue to work or coordinate to work with other teams. In other words, what is UUCOV doing and how can others in the congregation be involved with what's going on? Does all of this work the way it should? Attend a board meeting or a coordinating council meeting to see. All meetings are open to anyone to attend unless a personnel action is on the agenda. And this morning you heard our president, Jack Head, say that the board is meeting after this to talk with you about this. So ask away. Introduce Judy Houston.
Good morning. I'm Judy Houston, and I am one of the newer members of both this congregation and the communications team, although communications is how I made a living for 40 plus years. In researching this topic, it appears that UUCOV got along with an informal communications function during its early years, shared by many congregants. And I'm going to tell you about the history that I've researched to do this little talk. And after I'm finished, which will be brief, I'd like to ask any of those who are in this service today to stand up and take a bow. Lee Carmody took this concern in hand. She thinks it was in 2007, and she enlisted two other members, Karen Griffin and Aaron Fangboner. Together they formed a team, which is the first communications team in this congregation, which designed, wrote, and put together a monthly newsletter and sent news about events to the newspapers in Venice and neighboring towns. About her stint on UUCOV Communications, Lee says, "It was a time eater, but very satisfying." Next up on UUCOV Communications was Tom Voigt. Tom's career was in newspapers on the business side of that industry. He says, "My committee was very busy due to our adult education program. Many events which were open to the public were held in our sanctuary. These events included lawyers with free advice on retirement and wills, programs on medical marijuana, death and dying. We promoted the Sunday adult education programs, which ran before and after the Sunday service." Tom had a hard-working group to help. They included Barbara Beering, Janet Knudsen, and Bill Harrison. When I was asked to take on this function, my professional experience included stints as a magazine editor, as a public relations executive, and when I moved to Florida, nearly a decade of freelance writing assignments for corporate clients. I was lucky to have an established team in place at UUCOV. That includes Linda Underwood, Jackie Whitus, and Sally Erb. And I would like to especially recognize Sally this morning, who made it possible for our Connections newsletter to continue without interruption after the accident that took our office manager to the sidelines. We send out news releases to promote events and news at UUCOV. Linda keeps our private Facebook group called In Touch updated, and our newest member, Jean Barlow, has taken over the Sunday Bulletin. We are also working to stay on top of advances in communications. That means social media. We have made, with Jackie Whitus' initiative, a grant request to UU National for social media training, and we're hopeful we'll know shortly if we'll be able to update our skills in that area. In the meantime, I hope you'll keep your ears and eyes open for people and events that will help us promote UUCOV. And remember, one of the oldest and most effective channels to do that is good old word of mouth. Thank you very much. And would everybody who has served on a communications team in this congregation please stand up and take a bow?
My name is Ann Harrison, and I became the chair of the membership team this past April. This morning, I'd like to briefly describe some of the things I've learned since saying yes to this role. UUCOV and other UU churches have a lovely tradition to formalize membership, known as signing the book. This is our book. We have no creed, so signing the book is a covenant to support each other on our individual spiritual journeys. Since our 39 charter members formed UUCOV 25 years ago, 500 people have signed the book. This has taught me the ebb and flow of our congregation as new members come and others drift away, move away, and sadly pass away. Still, our history is one of growth, reaching a height of 239 members in 2018. Of course, we all remember what happened in 2020, and our congregation is still recovering from the pandemic. There are 45 UU congregations in Florida, and we are among the 5 largest. The largest UU congregation in Florida is Sarasota. Nationally, we are larger than 75% of UU congregations. Our membership is right at 200, so you can see that most churches, indeed, most churches are fewer than 100 right now. Today, we have 192 active members, 8 emeriti, and 15 pledging friends. In the last 9 months, 90 visitors have given us their contact information, and still more have bypassed the welcome table. Perhaps they're shy, or like many of us, may have been wounded by mainstream religion. I read that nationally, 3/4 of all visitors to UU churches take more than 3 months to consider membership. So in this graph, 25% come and where do I sign? They're ready to go. Another half take a year, up to a year, to get to know us. Another 20% will still be thinking about it after a year. And then maybe 5% say, I'm just not sure. We certainly are a discerning bunch. But this leads to my biggest lesson of all as your membership team chair. Balance. At UUCOV, we strive for balance. We want each and every one of you, whether you are a member, guest, visitor, or passerby, to know that you're welcome here, regardless of where you are on your spiritual path. Balance means we welcome without pressure. It means we encourage without coercion. We express enthusiasm without zealotry. Our arms are open, but not grasping. We hope you will join us, and we honor your journey if you choose not to. If you are a member or pledging friend, thank you for your support. If you're a visitor interested in exploring membership, please stop by the welcome table on the lanai after church and speak to me or another member of our team. Thank you.
Each week's salute has been planned to help you learn something new about our congregation. Depending upon your experiences, you may hear more information one week than another. When questioned about these short presentations, most people have been very positive. They have reported them to be informative. This week, we hope you have become aware of how decisions are made about a number of factors here, and we hope you are inspired to pursue joy, excitement, risk, passion, by making sure you attend GA next year. Thank you.
Thank you, all of you. That was wonderful. I personally learned some new things, and I bet you did too. I'm supposed to extinguish the chalice now. For our benediction, we, since the delegates remain in their seats, I will just read their part. So the benediction is kind of our takeaway from GA. So for Steve, it was experience more of what the UU way can be. For Marcia, it was find your voice. For Kendra, it was participate in our democracy. For Pat, as Reverend Betancourt said, be publicly obnoxious about our values. And for me, you can be the change, peace, and may it be so. And now Lisa will play our prelude, our postlude, rather, May Love Surround You. Please stand as you're willing and able and sing along.
May
Don't forget to wait for the announcements, please. Please take your seats for the announcements. Thank you. And also remember that after the announcements, you are invited to stay for discussion with Jack and the board about more about decision making, I think, right? Or whatever. Okay. So our first announcement, and a very important one, please sign up for the final celebration of our 25th anniversary event. We have a date correction in place. The date is Saturday, January 20th, not the 21st. In some places it was written the 21st. So Saturday, January 20th, 11:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. at the Plantation Golf and Country Club on Rockley Boulevard, off Center Road or near the 41 bypass. While this will be the final celebration event of our salutes to our congregational past and present, our focus will be on our future. And even though we have a speaker talking about saving our democracy, that is only part of our celebration. In addition to our keynote speaker, who is Dr. Dale Anderson, and he will be speaking on your personal plan to help save our democracy. And Serena says there are also a few surprises. So, just want to note that. Sign up on the Lanai today or after today until January 9th on our website if you don't sign up on the Lanai. Press the donate button if you sign up on the website, which will take you to the giving options. Scroll down to special events, January 20th luncheon, to sign up and select your entree. Okay, got that? Yeah. All right. If not, call me. There's an announcement from the annual giving task force. The 2024-25 annual giving campaign has begun. Invitations have been sent out to the initial 2 meetings to be held in private homes in January. All members and friends will receive an invitation, and visitors will also have an opportunity to participate. When you get your invitation, please RSVP so that adequate plans can be made by our volunteer hosts. This is your opportunity to ask questions about our congregational goals and to better understand our congregational finances. So be on the lookout for that. The 2024 nominating committee has been meeting to organize the work of that committee. The congregation is invited to nominate Board of Trustee candidates for consideration. Nomination can be made to any of the nominating committee members, and they are Rich Canarelli, Bev Morrison, Jean Spitzer, Kendra Muntz, and Linda Underwood. Sounds like a list of who's who. Sign up also for the small community meals in the Lanai today. Volunteer hosts are still needed. You may sign up also for the January 26th first annual UUCOV lip sync competition on the Lanai today. You too can be a pop star. Tuesday at 2 p.m. in the sanctuary, come hear a presentation by the library about how banned books affects our public library system. Wednesday at 1:30 in Asta Linder, the Death and Grief Group will meet. Sunday, January 14th, 11:30 to 1:30 is Pathways, and there's a sign-up sheet on the Lanai today for that. Wednesday, January 17th, from 5 to 7 p.m., there's a Justice Social get-together. And last but not least, Tuesday at 1 p.m., those who play Mahjong will meet in Waters Hall.
Meatless Monday. Meatless Monday. Oh.
Well, I only read what I'm given. Meatless Monday. And Jack, are you going to come on up here? Where is Jack? He's going to lose him. Somebody find Jack and tell him it's time